Turtles in Time Reshelled is a remake of an arcade classic from the early 90s. Both the artistic style and the combat mechanics have received a three-dimensional overhaul, but the core action remains pretty much the same. You and up to 3 other local or online players tromp through a variety of levels, dispatching wave after wave of foot soldiers and vanquishing end-of-level bosses to advance. The action is fairly repetitive, but that's to be expected from Turtles in Time because it's a beat-em-up. You beat dudes up. The problem is, beating up those dudes isn't very fun.
My toes!
Regardless of which Teen Turtle you play as, you have a very limited number of attacks. You've got your basic attack and special attack, each of which is assigned to one button. Jump and attack, and there's your jump kick. If you run a few steps then attack, you'll do a dashing strike. These 4 moves are all effective, and if you mix them up, you can chew through enemies pretty quickly. Since you have a limited number of lives, you'll strive to avoid taking damage from enemies as you progress, and beating the game will present a good challenge for many players. And if it doesn't, you can always kick up the difficulty level, or try to beat the game without dying in survival mode. The problem is, challenging does not necessarily equal fun. While the combat can be challenging, it isn't deep or satisfying enough to be fun. Your 4 attacks are simplistic, and there aren't any combos, super attacks, or other nuances to spice things up. You can attack in more directions than you could in the previous versions, but this will only seem novel to Turtles in Time veterans. This 3D overhaul works fine on normal levels, but in the 2 hoverboard surfing levels, you'll often run into some wonky movement mechanics when things get crowded. And ultimately, the 3-dimensional attack radius doesn't make your attacks any more satisfying. None of them hit with much impact, with the exception of one of your throws. If you're close to an enemy and attack them, you will either throw them towards the screen and out of play, or you'll grab their arm and thwomp them back and forth like a ragdoll. This is a fun attack to watch. It's just too bad none of the others are. Bosses provide more of a challenge, but most of them are too easy or too cheap to be fun to fight. Some can be easily dispatched by constant jump kicking, while others seem to hit outside of their range a little too often. One in particular, Cement Man, takes on an invulnerable form and can corner you at will, doing repeated damage that you are powerless to avoid. Beating him requires a lot of patience, and overcoming that kind of aggravation doesn't really bring satisfaction, just relief. And relief is often the best you can hope for from an old-school beat-em-up. Limited lives, innumerable enemies, tricky bosses, all of these are hallmarks of a game that rewards patience, repetition, and vigorous button pressing. Turtles in Time Reshelled is such a game, and nostalgic challenge seekers will find just what they're looking for here. If, however, you're just looking to have some fun, prepare for disappointment.
I am banishing you to a time warp from which you shall never return!
It's true that being a Ninja Turtle can be entertaining for a while, and playing with 3 friends has a certain appeal. But the simplistic combat wears thin very quickly, and 4 players on the screen creates more confusion than camaraderie. The whole game can be completed in about an hour, but you'll be bored or frustrated long before then. Unless you're an old-school beat-em-up fan, Reshelled just isn't worth your time.